Welcome back! Did the last video inspire you to make some changes? Oh, we hope so. If you haven't watched that first video, please take some time to do so. It is so important to us to get all of this information into your hands. But who are we? We are the three goat ladies, creators of Raising Goats for Beginners, and the teachers in this free goat health training series. Our goal is to empower you to feel confident in your goat care by implementing the key tips we have learned in our years of goat ownership. Through these 4 videos, we hope we can help you as much as we've helped the thousands of other students we've taught. We are so excited for all of the goat lovers who watched the first video, and we want to thank you so much for sharing it and for helping to make a difference for goat owners worldwide.
Last time we left you with the reality that we all have 2 paths that we can choose to take when raising our goats. We can choose to take either the path of managing our goats or the one of preparation and prevention. Now remember, if we choose managing, we will be reacting to things as they happen, waiting for illness and then diagnosing and treating. We will be waiting for symptoms to appear and then scrambling to figure out what is wrong and how to treat it. We will be taking early morning runs to the feed store or the vet's office to get the medication that we should have had on hand but didn't. And we will be worrying ourselves sick over what we might find in the barn on any given day. Just saying all that sounds stressful, doesn't it?
Over these next few videos, we will be zeroing in on the framework for what it takes to go down the path of preparation and prevention, and how that will result in that positive outcome of a healthy herd, with less loss and more peace. The first step, which we are going to be talking about today, is the key to beginning your journey on this path of preparation and prevention. It's often an overlooked factor that's actually very critical to your goat's health. And while this concept may not seem earth-shattering, when you realize how little of this one little thing you are doing and how important it is, you're going to be shocked. It sounds way too simple, but it's really true.
We have found that when teaching our students about prevention, it is immediately assumed we are talking about standard prevention techniques such as keeping the barns clean and providing supplements for your goats and worming them and so on. And although those things are all important, very important, the biggest change does not happen in the traditional ways of thinking about prevention. Now, we aren't saying that these prevention techniques aren't important, because they really are, but our suggestion is that the biggest and longest lasting benefits come as a result of observation. The power of observation, of using all of our senses and just being totally present when you're with your goats, can change the outcome of your goats' lives. Nothing can compete with the powerful feeling of walking into your goat pen and immediately seeing what's wrong and knowing what to do about it. So, why is observation so powerful?
When you are in tune with your goats, when you use all 5 of your senses every time you are out in the barn, it allows you to step back and see the whole picture of your goats and their health. You will see things you might easily miss when you are distracted or rushing through chores. By just being present and aware, you get the highly desired outcome of seeing all those small signs that tell you something bigger might be on the horizon. Observation is the key difference between just owning goats and being a true guardian. Your goats depend on you to give them what they need, when they need it. They can't tell you when something is wrong, and if you wait for symptoms to become obvious, it can often be too late. What do we mean when we say observation? Observation is the state of total awareness. It's taking the time every day to use all of your senses to see the big picture. It's noticing little things that can lead to something bigger. It's anticipating what is about to happen before it actually does.
Let's look at this another way. Let's look at how observation can help prevent an illness like sore mouth from turning fatal. Now, sore mouth is a viral infection, and it's caused by a pox virus that is similar to chickenpox. It causes sores on the face and around the mouth and in other hairless areas of your goat. In itself, sore mouth isn't that serious, but if it goes undetected, you could end up with kids wasting because they are refusing to nurse due to the painful sores in their mouth. Or you could wind up with does with mastitis because they are refusing to let their kids nurse because they have painful sores on their udders. So how can observation help you in a situation like this? Let's say you go out into your goat yard to feed like you always do, but instead of just dumping the feed or leaving the hay and leaving, you look at each goat in your herd individually. And you notice, like one of our students, Debbie, did, that one of your goats has lesions around her mouth. Because of this observation, you look the goat over more thoroughly, checking for sores in other places, including inside her mouth. Now, sore mouth is viral, and for the most part, you just have to let it run its course. But if you are armed with the knowledge of what sore mouth is, and if you are aware of the situation, it helps you prevent those bigger issues. You can watch your kids for not eating because of the sores in their mouth and intervene if you need to. You can watch your moms and your babies more closely to make sure that everyone is feeding as they should. You can be proactive in your care and support your goat as they fight this illness.
We do this all the time with our children. As parents, we are very in tune with our kids. If something is off, maybe they didn't eat their favorite meal at dinner, or maybe they are just so much more grouchy than normal. Or sometimes it's as simple as they just look off. And as their parent, you know them well enough to see that they aren't themselves. You are completely in tune with them, enough to see that their eyes look sick. And when you see those signs, you take action. Maybe you get them in bed earlier that night, or reduce the amount of sugar they are consuming. Maybe you pull out some essential oils or herbs to help boost the immune system. And you would probably continue to do these things until it seemed that they were back to normal. It's no different when it comes to your goats.
Now, there are lots of ways that you can observe your goats. Your eyes will be looking for anything on or in your goat that causes concern. This would be like checking their eyelid color, looking for signs of bloat, watching for abnormal poop, watching their body condition and keeping tabs on their general body condition. You will be listening for any teeth grinding and rumen movements and any abnormal grunting. Your nose will be smelling for any abnormal smells in their urine or milk. You will train yourself to be completely aware of your goat's body condition and their personality. And with that information, you will be able to immediately tell if there's even the smallest change or shift away from normal.
One specific way that you can use observation in your herd is to check the body condition of your goats. And this is something we get questions about all the time. Is my goat fat? Her belly is just so big. But see, the thing about goats is that just because they look fat doesn't mean they are fat. Goats are ruminants, and because of the way their digestion works, they produce a lot of gas as they eat and as they digest their food. And all of this gas can make their bellies look pretty big. So you really can't tell just by looking if a goat is fat. And sometimes that rumen can even mask an underweight goat if you aren't looking close enough. So, how do you tell what the body condition of your goat is? Instead of just visually assessing your goat, you need to get a little more hands-on. Now, there are a couple of different areas that you can feel to tell if your goat has just the right amount of fat reserves. But the easiest and the quickest is to check the spine and rib area. So I'm going to go over here and wake up these two sleepy does who just got finished eating their hay, and I'll show you exactly what to look for on the ribs and on the spine to tell if your goat is too fat or too thin. Okay, so these girls just want the food in my pocket, but we'll see if they'll cooperate. So when you are observing the body condition of your goats, you need to feel along their spine. And you need to pay special attention to how visible the spine and the ribs are and how much fat padding there are on both of these areas. If your goat's backbone is highly visible and your ribs are clearly seen, then your goat's way too skinny. And you should be able to visually see this without any trouble at all. There's no fat cover, and you can feel the spaces between the vertebrae and between the ribs. Now, if the spine is somewhat visible in a continuous ridge down their back, and there's only a small amount of fat cover on the ribs, then you can still penetrate the spaces between the ribs easily, then you're still in the underweight category. Now, optimally, the backbone will not be prominent at all, and the ribs are barely seen, and they have an even fat layer covering the entire area. You may be able to feel the spaces between the ribs with a little bit of pressure. If the spine and the ribs cannot be seen at all, and the sides of your animal are smooth and sleek, then they are on the heavier side, but still in the optimum health category. Now, if you cannot see the spine or the ribs when you feel, and they are buried in fat, and you can barely feel the rib cage at all, then they are overweight, and you need to tweak that goat's feeding to get them back down to an optimum weight.
And once you know the condition of your goats, you can use this information to make changes on how you are caring for each individual goat. If you are dealing with an overweight goat, that might mean cutting back on the grain or providing more time or room to exercise. If you're dealing with an underweight goat, that might mean gradually adding in extra feed like grains or alfalfa hay. You can also pair this information with other knowledge to help prevent other problems such as ketosis and toxemia and reproductive issues.
Observation is the key to success in all areas of your goat's life. So how else can we use this to keep our goats healthy? Let me give you another example. I want to share with you a story that I have personally experienced. When I was a goat newbie, or should I say before I understood the importance of observation, I went out to milk my goats one morning and found this girl, Guinea, in terrible shape. She wouldn't eat, she wouldn't drink, and she was extremely weak and wobbly. I immediately went from having a normal morning to being in a complete state of panic. What followed was about 48 hours of spending almost all of my time in the barn nursing her back to life. Guinea, who is also my highest milk producer, was suffering from hypocalcemia. Hypocalcemia is a very scary sounding word for calcium deficiency. It is also known as milk fever. Calcium deficiency occurs when a goat that is either pregnant or nursing is not having her calcium needs met through feeding and supplementation. If I had been practicing proper observation and prevention, then this situation could have been easily avoided. In fact, I would have been able to walk out to milk that morning and would have continued on to have a normal day. I could have avoided the worry that came with not knowing if she would live. I could have spent my day accomplishing other things that needed to be done and had more time for my family. And I could have saved money on all the medications and supplements that I had to use to treat her. By just taking the time to observe my goats, I would have seen the signs way before there was a problem. And by acting on my observations, I could have prevented it. I would have noticed that her muscles quivered sometimes and that she shivered after milking. I would have noticed that she was less active than normal and that her appetite had decreased. I could have supplemented her with alfalfa and minerals. I could have made sure that her calcium needs were met. I could have completely avoided the whole situation And now that I understand how crucial observation is, I can have complete confidence in what I will find when I go out to milk. That is a very empowering thing. I have confidence that my goats are healthy and that illness is not just around the corner.
And that is how observation becomes so powerful. Do you see a pattern? Observing allows you to proactively care for your goats in a way that isn't filled with fear and constant questions about what could possibly be going wrong now. Observation produces positive outcomes, and it helps eliminate crisis. Observation produces confidence. If observation is such a simple and crucial task, why don't we do it? The truth is just as simple. We are busy, and it's just too easy to put off these tasks for another day. I do it too. How many times have I finished chores and I have my full bucket of milk and my freshly gathered eggs in my hand, and I get into the house and put my coats and boots away, and I realize that I didn't fill the mineral feeder up again. I'll do it tomorrow. It's just so easy to say, I'll do it tomorrow. But how many tomorrows does it take to cause a big problem in your herd? Or how about giving copper bolus? It is so easy, but that every 3 month or 6 month needed supplement ends up being just once a year. Or did I even do it at all this year? Maybe you're just jumping from task to task and just end up falling back on the minimum care for your goats. It's just too easy to put things off. It's easy to forget. It's easy to get overwhelmed with life, with kids and jobs and making dinner and cleaning and chores and your goats on top of all of that.
The thing we all need to recognize is that making a conscious decision to take this path will help you create new habits that will eventually become second nature, and you won't have to think about them. You just do it every day, the same as you do feeding or filling up water buckets. So now you know that you need to create habits, and we've even talked about which habits should be a big part of your routine, but how do you start creating habits in your life? Usually it's easy to come up with what needs to change, but implementing is the hardest part. If you can make it as easy as possible for yourself and your goats, you will probably be more likely to actually make habits that stick.
One of the most essential aspects that you need to incorporate into your life and routine is keeping a calendar of necessary shots and supplements, breeding dates, kidding dates, and so much more. And then keeping track of each of your goats' information so that you can use it to help you to be more aware and to know what signs to be on the lookout for at any given time. Put together a tote of items that are more likely to be used on a daily basis, like a thermometer, a weight tape, B vitamins, Nutri-Drench, and maybe some needles and syringes. Doing something like this, that's altogether easy to grab on the way out the door, can just become a habit that makes you consciously think about your goat's health and what to look for when you go out. And then when you do go out, don't just feed your goats hay and walk away. Feed them and then walk around the feeder and look at each of your goats. Talk to them, touch them, and really look at each one individually. Not only will this get you familiar with their personalities, but you will also be able to immediately tell when something is wrong, when you know how they normally behave. Do you see how easy this really is? It can seem overwhelming when you think about all of this information and how it should look in your herd, but sometimes it's the simple things that make all the difference.
There's another really compelling reason for why observation is critical and the key to your goat raising success. Think for a minute about the future. What do your dreams for your goat herd look like? If you're raising goats for meat, can you visualize a large herd of healthy, desirable goats? And in this dream, your goats are in high demand and your customers rave about the quality of your meat. And each year you are confident in the number of babies that will be born successfully, and your business grows and flourishes. If you raise goats for milk, you can see a large herd of healthy goats grazing in your field. And you walk out in the morning and your beautiful goats come running, anxious to be milked. Can you imagine a refrigerator full of milk that you can use to make delicious products, such as cheese, yogurt, ice cream? Maybe you even make goat milk soap that everyone loves and is in high demand at your farmer's market or among your friends. And how about you? How do you see yourself in this dream? Are you confident? Do you feel empowered by your knowledge and the success that it has brought you? You can achieve your dreams for your herd by putting the things that we are teaching into practice. Your dream can be a reality.
So we've told you about one critical part of going down this path of prevention and preparation, but this is only one part of the much bigger picture. Observation is extremely crucial, but it requires action and knowledge to be effective. By combining observation with action, you will achieve true success at raising healthy goats.
In a couple of days, we will be releasing the third video in this series, where we will be showing you the framework for how to put together a solid action plan for you and your goats. Knowledge plus observation and proper care equals success.
We want to thank you so much for joining us in this training series. We have had goat lovers from all over tuning in to watch that first video. So please just take one moment to share this series with any goat owner that you know. And then leave us a comment below and let us know what the biggest takeaway you got from this video was and how you will add it to your goat routine. That's it for today. We'll see you in video 3 coming up in a couple days.